Yeah, well, that's crazy.
So anyway, we made wristbands and had one of these on for...
I like that he had like a real impact though on your generation.
Yeah,
that's
you'll probably see these around now that you know to look for them.
All right, we're live.
Awesome. Sounds good. Let's get into it.
So starting today, Jeff's not here, and we have Adam Peabody. Adam Peabody is a Fredericton local. He is the
investment attraction and growth specialist with Ignite Fredericton.
Perfect. And I know Adam because we did Global Vision together, and I guess we'll just get started. So tell me about yourself, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we get into into the interview, I just wanted to mention one quick thing, because it's too bad Jeff's not here, because I had a good story to bring home with me about Jeff.
Where from?
From a summit, economic development summit I was just at in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
At the start of this week. So I was there. There was a nice reception that they had put on. The government from the States, the Commerce Department, had put on for the Canadian delegation. And anyway, I was networking and was talking to this one guy in Washington.
Cool.
And was talking about Fredericton. And the funny thing is, when I brought it up, he said, "Hey, I was just in Fredericton a couple months ago, and I got 2 of the greatest shirts ever." And I knew exactly who it was. And anyway, I've been meaning to tell Jeff that. I just got back on.
He's watching this right now, just dancing.
Good. Yeah, so there's some some promotion going on for Jeff,
That's
and
awesome.
I think it's super cool that the brand has reached already into the States, and that's recognized.
That's so fun. Why is he in Fredericton, did you say?
On business. So it was all a foreign direct investment summit. So we're trying to get some companies from the States to invest here in New Brunswick, set up operations. Okay. So fortunately, I can't reveal the name of them right now, but hopefully they'll be coming down.
It's all the good stuff.
And, but anyway, pretty cool story.
So let's do that. So why were you in Washington? Like, how did that happen? Who are you? Let's do this.
Okay. So quick background, I guess, on myself and the organization. So Ignite Fredericton is the economic development catalyst agency for the greater Fredericton region. And one part of our mandate is to encourage foreign direct investment into the city of Fredericton. Okay. So I'm responsible for that area as well as our export growth. And with the investment attraction piece, we have a good number of companies that have chose Fredericton by and large for the innovation and R&D capacity that we output here. For a really small province, actually works to our advantage with that clustering.
Can you give me some stats on that?
Yeah, so
because I hear it, but I don't know anything about it.
So one example, just between where we are in the downtown, up the hill to Knowledge Park, and the sort of 2-kilometer radius that you would have between that, there would be over 60 research and development institutes or organizations, all of which have some sort of a mandate to work with industry to actually commercialize it out.
Okay, cool.
Then you factor in all the different research chairs and departments at the University of New Brunswick and NBCC. You can see just the density of research capacity that there is here.
And why is that?
Well, it sort of starts back from the academia side of it, right? UNB is one of the oldest universities in North America.
Totally.
Engineering faculty is the oldest in North America.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Proud alumni, right?
I am definitely went there.
Yeah. That's right.
I didn't finish, but
you got what you needed to. Right? But so that sort of was the catalyst for it a while ago. But you can go back to the 60s with the geomatics department.
Yeah,
and they actually had a component of their research in mapping the moon alongside NASA. So
I heard that. That's so cool.
Long tradition of innovation.
And I heard too, just jumping because I was in the engineering department. They talked about this, and they also made the street view for Google Maps.
That's right. Yeah,
crazy.
So,
who knew?
Crazy innovation
in Fredericton.
And nobody, people in Fredericton don't know that, right?
No.
So,
well, now they do because they watch this. Everybody.
Right. Everybody knows it. So shamelessly plug. Now that you got to invest in Fredericton.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's a big part of my mandate is to sort of get the word out there to try and identify companies around the world that are doing have product development needs that would fit with the research capacity here in Fredericton. Fredericton.
Okay.
And that would be like a couple of the big names that people would be aware of is Siemens, number one, partnering with UNB to develop the smart grid technology and partnering with New Brunswick Power. That is going to be deployed globally. They're using New Brunswick as the test bed for that. When IBM...
Can you talk about that one specifically? Because not enough people know about smart grid.
Absolutely. So I'm no expert in smart grid, but what I can say is that, or the way that I understand it...
What is the smart grid,
The smart grid is basically to optimize and find more efficient ways to distribute energy for residential and commercial users off of the grid. So the grid, basically, you've got to make an old grid that's been in place for, I don't know, 100 years probably.
And wind and snow and everything.
And then how do you make it so it can interface with new technologies like, Simtech is tracking the usage of energy, primarily residential customers, and then you can optimize that. And the big sort of challenge right now is for NB Power is that they have to be able to service the entire province, residential and commercial customers, for even a small province like New Brunswick. But
it's not small.
Is it geographically? Yeah, it's bigger.
I drove to Bathurst the other day.
Yeah.
It's a long drive.
It does take a long time. Yeah. And so you think about all that territory, and then think about, too, like, for residential especially, when do people most times use their power?
Evenings, mornings. 6
in the morning and like 9:30 in the morning probably, and then at the latest, and then in the evening. So then you have all day where you're not getting like a very high demand for that energy, but NB Power still has a mandate that whenever you flick on your switch, power is going to be there.
What a crazy thing that we just expect.
Yeah.
Like, so if the power goes out, people die actually too. It's crazy.
And you think of like all of the when the outages happen, like in the north this year, and the trouble that happened there.
That's an important job.
Yeah. So
thank you,
that's
Gaetan.
The whole smart grid is how do you leverage new technologies to optimize where the power is going, find energy savings, and then ultimately the goal or the mandate is for NB Power to find more sustainable ways to do it, and then it's also part of that whole global challenge around global warming and energy sustainability. So
so I could dive into that because I'm curious about that too. But let's go back. So foreign direct investment.
That's right.
And exporting.
Yep.
How do you manage both? So you're telling people to come here.
Yep.
And you're saying, hey, we have resources here.
That's right.
And you're telling people to export, and you're saying, hey, grow your business here because we have resources.
That's right.
So how do you figure out who gets resources, how that works? I don't, and they're probably not the same, but
time management is always a struggle, as you would know. But
I feel like there should be more people.
Yeah. Well, if we had more people, that's the thing, is that when you look at it for foreign direct investment, like nobody really comes here for market access, because but our real advantage is that R&D capacity, that product development opportunities. And then how that relates to export is that when you think about export, what does it really mean? It means that there's a company that can go up against really global competition and succeed and do well in a different market. So if we have expertise in specific areas like smart grid, like cybersecurity, like a lot of the ICT companies that we have here, then they are already exporting to different markets. Well, it must be something there in the sauce that allows them to do that. And you have those companies from abroad that want to come in, also leverage those assets, and they will export as well. So it's a little bit intertwined, and you look at the supply chain for FDI opportunities and a bunch of others. But
I think that you're right too. Like, that is all grounded in just years of engineering.
Yeah,
and like
it's crazy.
And mentality, especially on the East Coast, where it's like we're literally trying to beat off nature on a constant basis. Like,
true.
It's extreme.
Yeah, and you look to like what's also what I find cool about some of the new companies, like take Reston Aerospace for example. At its most early form, you're really solving a problem for a really old traditional industry. Like,
can you speak a little bit about what Reston does without saying too much?
Yeah, so basically they've come up with a product leveraging drone technology and GPS and lasers to actually identify with great precision, can fly these drones over crops, identify a very specific area, like down to I understand it down to like 5 square feet, where there might be insect issue that's going to damage the crop. Right now, you have like pesticide spraying all the way across the crop, and we know the effects of that and where the industry is trying to move. So if you can sort of zap those insect problems out in a very defined, specific area before it becomes a problem for the whole crop, or to prevent preventative pesticide spraying for the entire crop, then that's a huge boom to the industry. So they've just partnered or had a round of investment and partnered with Monsanto, have offices opening up in California right now, already had a partnership and investment with McCain's.
And that's so cool that that's like being done here.
I think they're up to like 30 employees working out of the NRC building on the university.
I heard 40. Right, that's now. What I heard. 40?
Yeah, there we go.
But the thing about that too is like so people see drones on TV and they're like, oh, cool, cutting edge technology. No. Yeah. Go to Florenceville. Oh, so that's where the cutting edge technology is.
Crazy, eh? And so I think that's cool, is that you have those old industries, and like even in forestry or using the biomass, like all these these new companies like technologies that are being leveraged. I know you had Dave Brown on before.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
So, MycoDev and Canova, again, you're leveraging traditional assets that we have and natural resources, then leveraging the new technology to make it for the new economy. Okay, so super cool.
So I'm not from Fredericton.
Yeah.
Give me the pitch.
Islander.
No, I am from Fredericton. I am from Fredericton. But let's say I'm from Washington. So I'm a Washington guy. I just voted for Trump. I got no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
How do you convince me to come to New Brunswick?
Well, you got to figure out what you want.
Okay. So do you go with like a tool set of things that that we're good in, or do you kind of speak with the person first?
Yeah, like I've got, at the end of the day, I'm pretty much a sales guy.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I'm selling Fredericton, right?
Yeah.
So
good for you.
I've got a lot of stuff, that we've done a lot of analysis in terms of what our strengths are, what we can offer that's unique in comparison to other jurisdictions.
What would be some things that would be unique, or can you say on camera?
Absolutely. So, there's a full spectrum. I already talked about the research capacity. Another part of that too is you look at companies that have product development needs. Typically, they want to do it in the most efficient cost way possible. Right?
Makes sense.
Fredericton is the #1 cost competitive location in all of North America.
I heard that too, and that's cool.
Super cool. And people might automatically think like, oh, that's because we have a lower cost of living and labor's cheaper here. That's true. You can get great talent for a lot cheaper than you would in Waterloo or in Vancouver, for example.
Well, they're a little prissy anyway.
Yeah. No comment. But what also makes that happen is we have the lowest commercial internet rates in Atlantic Canada for sure, arguably all across Canada. And that's a result of 20 years worth of investment in our digital infrastructure. Like we had dark fiber and gigabit connectivity before most of Canada did.
I want to plug that too real quick. We use F6 here, and it's sick because I used Rogers, and I have it in my house, and it goes out every friggin' 3 days. I got to come home and unplug and plug in my router.
F6.
So what the hell?
Awesome company and super cool. Like if you, I didn't know anything about this, and I'm not a techie guy until I started getting into this world. But like the actual network of fiber that they're operating across Atlantic Canada and some of their expansion plans with that, great.
And it's really cool. It's not something I would recommend for a consumer. Like again, I have Rogers in my house.
That's right.
But for a business, like as a niche service, like our internet has never gone out here, and it's sick.
Yeah, and I think the way I understand it too is like because they're local, they're really good at working with industry to like come up with neat solutions.
Well, I'll tell you, they so, no, I don't know if I knew Mike Richard, who used to run Innovations, which I think F6 bought.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so that was like the public Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And I messaged him. I was like, "Dude, where's your service guy?" Next day, he was here. It's like
incredible.
Like just like small company, but what's it called? Professional. That's what I care about, because some small businesses aren't professional.
That's true.
That's a huge issue, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But that's the advantage too when I'm talking to a global company like that might be looking to have a footprint like IBM would here, and okay, we're going to set up shop. We have big demand for internet capacity and for fiber use and stuff like that. Going to have a 100-person team or something like that here. And I can tell them, well, in most other locations in Canada, that's going to run you like $2,500 a month. Here in Fredericton, it might be $250, $300 per month on average. And then you also get the advantage, like you're saying, where you're going to have a service guy right there. You're going to actually see one of the executives. Exactly. You're going to see Mike around here. You can tell him they're having issues. You can tell him, like, hey, wouldn't this be cool, right? And they're going to be willing to work with industry like that. So that's another advantage for sure.
One thing, too, just on that is like I got distracted by Mike. Now I'm thinking he's really into horses. I found out, which is kind of cool.
Really?
Yeah, totally.
I did not know that.
What were you saying? Oh, IBM. Yeah. So IBM right now, stock's fallen, but they're hedging their bets in a security.
That's right.
And I guess Atlantic Canada, Halifax included, Moncton, St. John, and Fredericton have the most IBM security personnel worldwide or something like that.
That's correct.
And this is where they're building it out.
Yeah.
Which is
and
pretty cool.
I have to say, Fredericton has the most, so just
okay.
throwing that plug in
just
there.
make sure. Yeah, sorry, I was misinformed, but now I know.
But that's another great story, right? Is you had, and hopefully we'll talk a little bit about the startup scene. I know that you're.
We don't have to. We talk about that all the time. It's fine.
But with Q1 Labs, right?
Yeah.
And when they exited and got acquired by IBM, that was another huge catalyst. And
totally.
I think that was one of two of the biggest tech exits in Canadian history at that time.
Well, I guess what I looked into is like so Rating 6, which was the other, was the most capital efficient.
Yeah.
So the return on investment versus the invested amount was like 6 or 7 times, like I don't know right off, but it was way above the average.
Yeah.
And that made it the highest. I think the only other one that even came close was like a biotech company.
Yeah.
And that's a totally different sector.
Yeah, very different sector.
When you say like we have the most efficient use of capital, like I do believe it. Like I really do.
Which is huge when you're looking at companies that maybe they want to do greenfield investment in, or maybe they want to do some type of M&A, but all of that activity, when we're talking about, they're like, holy shit, this is going on in a city that like we've never even heard of.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a hard question, and I might not like the answer, but I'm gonna ask you the hard question. So we have companies like Brian was in here yesterday, and there's Cernova guys. So these companies have come here, set up offices, now 50 employees.
Yeah.
How does that work with the startup people? So, you're trying to get people exporting.
Right.
Wages are going up. Everyone knows that. Wages are always going up. That's just a fact of life. But wages are going up, so we got to keep everybody competitive.
Yeah.
How do you guys think about that? Is really my question. Because I know how I think about it and how I react to it.
Yeah.
I just wonder how you guys think about it.
So you're talking about the demand for those key skill sets.
100%.
There's so much competition for that right now.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Absolutely. So, the great thing is that you have a lot of great companies that are looking for the same skill set. That's good overall for the marketplace.
I agree.
As challenging as it is,
people are moving here to work here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is gonna. That's something that we need to do a better job, I think, not just the city, but working collectively with the other cities and the provincial government in branding ourselves with both the demand that there is and the opportunities for those skill sets to come in and work here, whether it's people that, went away 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago in search of employment, or whether it's bringing new people in. We have to be able to start telling a more compelling story, and I think that part of the challenge in shifting towards that mentality is that you would know it's true in PEI, it's true in Nova Scotia, all over the Maritimes, that we've had this sort of mentality of like, we got to keep our kids here, like we can't let them leave, right? We got to retain it. Well, my argument would be, let's stop thinking about retaining people. Let's start thinking about attracting people overall. And if people stay, that's awesome. If people move, that's even greater.
Well,
right?
Jerry has a good comment. So Jerry Pond has a good comment on that, where he's like, why not let the young people go out into the workforce, let them move.
Yeah.
Because they're going to come back because they know the quality of life here is better,
Yeah.
and let them come back fully trained.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I'm not in one of those super high demand skill sets, but
I don't know. I would argue.
Went away for university. Went away for a few years for work.
It's always money for sales, man.
Yeah.
So where'd you go?
So I went to school at Bishop's University in southern Quebec, just outside of Sherbrooke.
Do you speak French?
Not as well as I should. Not anymore. I officially graduated bilingual, but
very cool.
haven't had as much practice.
I get it, man. I get it. It's hard.
Yeah, and yes, I did that for a bit, and then I worked for a couple of years with Global Vision, which is how we came to be connected together.
So let's talk about Global Vision real quick.
Absolutely.
So Global Vision, I did it. I went to Panama, Colombia. It is a trade mission. So you act as ambassadors of Canada. You go to different countries and try to convince people to, basically the job you had, convince people to invest in the area you're from. So I had Summerside PEI. And, I definitely wasn't as skilled as Adam, but I'll let you go ahead.
Well, I wasn't as either, man. Like, I got involved in Global Vision when I would have been 16 years old, and was incredible opportunity. Had no idea what I was getting into at the time, but was really formative, like, in my life and in my career, for sure.
Totally, same.
So just quick background here. Global Vision is a national not-for-profit charity in Canada, and their mandate is to support youth becoming trained as global entrepreneurs and ambassadors for Canada. Do it through that Junior Team Canada Trade Mission program you're just speaking of. The first time I went abroad, I had just turned 17. Went
so
to
cool,
Peru, which is an awesome experience representing Fredericton. And then, stayed involved, and, I'm still, actually there's a girl from Fredericton who's going on the trade mission this year. So I've been in touch with her and try to mentor when I can and help out. But after
in that group, I'm still close to that group.
Incredible, eh?
Yeah, and I can go anywhere in Canada and hang out with them.
Yeah, the friendships that you make, and that's what's kind of cool is I always kind of thought of it, obviously there's high expectations and you're in business meetings and trying to represent, but it's almost like, a mini summer camp abroad.
That's
right?
an interesting. Yeah. Summer camp, but basic, because you're not allowed to do sales as a kid. Really.
Right.
It's too important.
Yeah.
I'm not letting you do it.
That's right.
But we were.
Exactly.
At that point. And then we had to realize how bad we were at it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the learning starts, right? But that's what's so cool is you get the real opportunity to, pitch yourself to businesses, to governments, and say, I've got this crazy opportunity. I'm going to be in Peru or I'm going to be in Panama. And my whole mandate is promote Canadian industry and culture. And so, will you invest in me so I can, take your message abroad or your product or services, etc. And anyway, had a great experience with Global Vision. Still, helping out where I can, trying to expand the opportunities for youth to get involved here in New Brunswick and Atlantic Canada. And that's where, so after having several different experiences as a quote-unquote ambassador with them, I got the opportunity to work for them for about 2 years and start to manage that program, which was also really cool and directly led to the job that I'm in now, because we had formed partnerships for a few years with Knowledge Park and with Ignite Fredericton, helping with the New Brunswick team. And then there was a job opening up that I'm doing now, and one thing led to another, and that's how I ended up back in Fredericton and working with Ignite. So
very cool.
Yeah, small circle.
Okay, so let's talk about. So we talked about exporting. Let's talk about. We talked about importing. Let's talk about exporting. So what do you export? What is the exporter accelerator?
Yeah,
tell me about it.
Absolutely.
I hear good things.
So, I'm glad that you're not hearing about it. At least not on the air. If bad things, so tell me until we're off air. But New Brunswick, like we were talking about earlier, is not a huge market to sell into, right?
There's no one here.
Great for startups to get started up here, but if you want to grow, you got to sell abroad. We have some pretty good support in place from the provincial government and from federally with the Trade Commissioner Service for people to get support when they're actually in a market themselves. So when they're going on a trade mission or they're going.
So what is a trade mission? mission? Like, I didn't really even understand.
Yeah, well, it takes different forms, but essentially trying to get a group of companies within one sector that would have different products and services, but overall are trying to are within one industry, bringing them to a market, providing them with the intelligence of that market.
Okay.
You know, how things are actually done, and whether it's the U.S. or China or
Gotcha.
Europe, whatever.
So you have to think about every culture,
Yep.
and how to sell into that market.
Cultural differences,
Interesting.
you know, the actual differences with foreign exchange rates, with all of that piece of it.
So what are some places you would look at?
So I mean, it really depends on the companies, but for our...
Do you want to talk about the companies then?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll back up, because this is so for the actual Export Igniter, we're not doing anything in market. That's where we found this new pilot program that we partnered with Opportunities New Brunswick, Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters, Fredericton Chamber, and UNB on. Basically, we came together because we were seeing there's a lot of support for companies, you know, on the trade missions themselves that's being done by the provincial government or by the federal government. But where there's a missing gap in the ecosystem is that there wasn't dedicated support for companies before they went into market. So like, we had a lot of companies that are like, yeah, I've got a great product and service, and then they would go in market and try to sell it, and oh, well, we have a competitor here that does the same thing. Or,
right.
oh, well, this isn't going to work because you're not patented in the States, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So we're seeing, you know, had a lot of great companies going into market, but they weren't being as successful as we would have liked because they didn't do the legwork beforehand. So that's what this new program, Export Igniter, was designed to do, is provide entrepreneurs that were ready to export with all of the training that they would need, and to take them through the process of preparing a market entry plan. And there would be various topics within that, all the way from like assessing what's my operational capacity to export.
I'd love to see that market ready plan. Like, that'd be cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, a few, quite a few of the guys that are guys and girls that went through the cohort. So we ran our first pilot cohort from January of this year to March. They graduated. Had 6 companies go through.
How long was it?
Different sectors. So it was 10 weeks that we did it for.
Cool.
Yeah. And it was really cool because we did, so we brought first subject matter experts to them to help them work out some of these issues. So everyone from the Trade Commissioner Service to Opportunities NB folks. We had Export Development Canada consultants that can help with logistics and packaging and shipping.
That's cool.
And market analysis.
So really,
legal,
like
financial.
So like, you have a business, it's doing well,
Yeah.
and you're like, now it's time to go. Let's say the U.S. It's time to go to the U.S. What do? I go see Adam.
That's right.
And then Adam says, here's the list of things to do.
Yeah, and so we'll bring them through program. We ran it as a cohort too, which I thought was a good way to do it, because you saw a lot of, as you would know, you've been through cohort programs before, like there's a lot of learning that goes on between the entrepreneurs too. And so I think that was a valuable way to do it for the entrepreneurs. But
what would you have changed?
We did every 2 or 3 Fridays, we would do a full programming day. We also partnered each of the companies with a team of students from UNB who acted as almost like mini consultants for them. So they'd help with market research and preparing their plan, and obviously great experiential learning opportunity for them. And then also matched each of them up with a entrepreneur here in the Fredericton region who's already been exporting that acted as a mentor.
That's super cool.
So yeah, it was pretty... So far, like, we've gotten positive feedback, and we're planning to open the application process for second cohort. Applications will open sometime in the early fall.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Who should apply? Who's watching? How do you apply? What's up?
Yeah, so primarily the companies that get the most out of it would be business to business sales model, companies that you shouldn't be in the start. You're not going to be in the startup stage to get the most out of it. You should have,
Can you define the startup stage? Like,
yeah.
What is, like, what? And this is like a question that people always ask. I'll give you my idea. You're not a startup when you make more money than you spend.
Yeah.
That's kind of my like bare minimum explanation.
Yeah, I think that's right. The only and I would say that that's true in terms of what this program can do. Like for anyone who's not making money right now, probably not going to do the best.
Shouldn't do the exporting.
Yeah. The only exception to that, I would say, is if you are a company that, like SimTech, for example, raised a pretty significant amount of investment,
right, totally.
had a little bit of traction, or at that time had a little bit of traction, and but their product is sort of globally facing in nature, right?
And they raised the money with the expectation that that's what they were going to do.
That's right.
Okay,
exactly.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So they did really well, and it's actually been cool too because if you think of export just as outside of New Brunswick, they're in Nova Scotia now. They're looking at the U.S. market and west of New Brunswick within Canada.
Good for them.
And coming close. They're planning on adding 8 jobs this year.
I seen that, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I was like, "That's a big jump, man."
That is a big jump
because they're going to go from like 6 or something to like 15.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah, so that's cool, and I think that SimTech would tell you that a big part of that is even though they were focusing in the Export Igniter program at the U.S. market, there's applicable lessons for even when they're going into Nova Scotia.
Right.
And like it's like if I'm going to need to ramp up the amount of people that I'm in my organization, how do I do that sustainably? Because that's the big thing with new exporters is if you don't do it right, that can totally ruin your business.
So give me some horror stories.
I don't want to name any names. all right. But it's true, like it's you see a lot of guys that will go like. So I won't name a name, but there was a company last year that was actually didn't do the legwork in advance of going into market, went to a big trade show in the United States, was at a booth, and it was an industry trade show. Anyway, they didn't actually trademark their company name, and they were served with like a cease and desist letter at the trade show by a company that was also there. So, and that could have been easily found. You just got to go on the website.
And people remember that.
Yeah. So you can bet that they didn't make any sales there, right?
No.
And the expenses of putting someone in. And
$10,000, yes, that's easy.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So yeah, you got to do it right, and that's basically what we're trying to do is making sure that people are fully prepared and maximize their chances of success when they actually start going into market.
That's awful. But, do your homework.
Exactly.
Know your market.
Lessons learned.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All right. This is good, though. I learned a bunch of stuff. I know you have to go because your parents are in town?
Well, parents are actually from here, but we're doing a little family barbecue tonight. So, yeah, but I've got... What time is it now?
4:15? You got to leave at 4:30?
Yeah, I got some time.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about some shit. Okay, so tell me, Ignite. Break down for me what's going on big with Ignite right now. I heard some rumors, heard some good stuff. What's going on?
Some rumors. that good old Fredericton rumor mill.
It's literally like 3 guys. It's literally like the person that's doing it telling me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, with Ignite, like what's been so. History of that is Ignite is still fairly new, like as an economic development organization. I think it was 2013 that it came together under this structure.
I remember that.
So, and the nice thing, well, at least what I like in the organization now is that Planet Hatch, Accelerator Incubator, and co-working space, Ignite Fredericton, the economic development agency, including what I'm doing, as well as population growth and workforce development, that type of stuff. And Knowledge Park, Research and Technology Park for the province. We're all operating as one company now. So the brands are separate, just to not confuse the marketplace. But it's great because, when there are startups that have been doing well that are getting into that tipping point into not being startups anymore, that would fall more into my zone.
It's so funny.
Easy handoff.
The goal of a startup is not to be a startup.
Exactly. And startup's a bad word.
Well, it should always be.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's like, yeah, but
it's become buzzy. That's when you're talking to someone that doesn't know much.
I know.
What's your goal? I want to be a startup. No, you don't.
Yeah, we don't want that. It's not an indefinite state.
That's right.
You probably want a business.
Yeah, exactly. Entrepreneur.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, so it's good now because all of the different services that those organizations bring to bear are integrated fully. So Mike Mazeral, you know him, good old Mike. So when he's working with some startups, they're getting into that, you know, really fast growth stage, or tipping off, not being a startup anymore, pass them off to me, whether it's export needs or other stuff that they would need from a local growth perspective. We can work with them, and we're all, you know, talking to each other about the different companies all the time.
Right.
So that's functioning really well, and I think it's having a big impact.
Okay, so where do you see? So you're doing investment attraction.
Investment attraction. And,
okay, so you probably have the best view of the future of Fredericton's business. Really?
Well, that's a big responsibility to put on.
Well, like you know, like I wouldn't say that it's your responsibility. I'd just say that you have the best vision of what's happening.
Yeah, it gives me a good perch.
So tell me, like 5 years from now, where do you see Fredericton? What sectors do you see really growing? Yeah. So if somebody was out there looking for a job right now watching this and they wanted to think about a couple industries in Fredericton, what would they be?
It's a good question. It's actually something that we've been talking about a lot recently. So there's four sectors that I'm focusing on heavily right now, and then some subsectors in that. So, you know, won't be a surprise. Information communications technology broadly is one big sector. I would say to anybody that, you know, has an inclination toward, you know, computers, or they find that kind of interesting, the cybersecurity stream is going to be huge here. So we've seen an announcement of a lot of research activity partnering with the Canadian Institute for Cybersecurity here at UNB recently. That's going to be a big opportunity. Sort of natural resources / biotechnology, which I also would include like agri-technology in. We were talking about Rustin earlier. There's a ton of companies that are popping up in that space that are taking, you know, new technologies, leveraging our traditional industries, and coming up with some really cool stuff. So on the whether it's on the sciences side or whether it's more on the technology side of that, that's going to be going in big places. And then, you know, I guess, so we've talked a lot about technology-based companies, engineering-based companies. That's another big one for sure. But what I'd also say for, you know, anybody who's, like, I have a sister who's graduating in high school this year, and you know, what I would say to her friends in terms of what might I take at university or college, is beyond those sort of technical skill sets. There's huge opportunities there, but there's also going to be a ton of related careers around that. So for cybersecurity, for example, like, even though they're building it in a protective side, they're also building it from like an intrusion and hacking side.
Gotcha.
They just released a policy recently, or the federal government just put a bill in recently that is going to allow our intelligence and security services to proactively start hacking, where it's all been defense till now. Really? So you can just imagine.
So other industries for other countries?
Other countries, yeah.
In Canada?
Yeah, responding.
Is that a U.S. thing as well?
The U.S. has been doing it for years. They're probably the leading country in doing that.
I didn't know that we were hackers.
We're not yet, but they literally just tabled a bill, I think this week or last week, and it was one component of an overall.
So we should start a hacking company, because they need hackers now.
They need hackers, and they also.
Interesting.
You can also think like for you know, arts-based type programs or humanities, social sciences, like what are going to be the ethical problems that arise when you have a new policy like that?
Yeah, seriously.
What are going to be the legal?
It's like saying It's like literally saying I can vandalize.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah. If you're in another country, just spray paint stuff, put the Canada flag, it's cool.
That's right. Yeah. So it's like, how do you, obviously there's going to be a need for some type of, you know, overall.
What a dirty policy.
Regime, new policy built around that so that it's in some way, shape, or form. How do we decide what's ethical, what's not?
Do you think we're in like a, you know, like the Cold War?
Yeah.
Do you think there's like a cyber war going on that we don't know about?
Cyber is crazy lately. Like, you know,
you want to get my tinfoil hat on right now?
I know. I just want to get rid of the phone, right? Like, who's watching me? Who's
seriously,
right?
seriously.
Oh, well, I'm not doing anything interesting enough for people to hack. But
I tell you, like, so quick one.
Yep.
on Android phone, we need photos.
Yeah.
We need photos because we need to take pictures of parking tickets. If we get a parking ticket, you know, like, we need the photo so we can fix it.
Sure.
But you can't turn on photos in Android unless you ask for the microphone too. And we're like, why is that?
Really?
Don't do that. We don't need the microphone. Don't do it. So like,
listening.
And it's just like, so who else is doing that we don't even know about?
Yeah.
Because we don't care. Like, we're like, whatever, keep it. We don't need to hear what you're saying ever.
It's funny. It's funny
Don't call
that
us.
you mentioned that too, though. No, it's true, because someone was telling me, I think it was today, they were in a meeting with a client of ours, and all of a sudden the microphone popped up, like, on their iPhone. And just doing, like, Siri is, like, listening, right? So.
And like, we're technology people.
Yeah.
And we're worried about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, everybody should be worried about it, I think. Like,
well, how many people out there are just like on their phone, like, like, you know, not two. So if you don't have two-factor authentication on your passwords, you should do it, especially your email, because everybody can get into everything if they get your email.
That's right.
Which is two-factor authentication is you get a text whenever someone enters your password, so you can enter the code. Real solid.
That's going to be the PSA for today, right?
Yeah, please do that. Please do that.
But yeah, it's true. So you think, like, there's going to be a lot of. It's just crazy. It's a cool time to be alive in this kind of world, because every day, you know, you're seeing new companies, and there's going to be a ripple effect into a lot of those other sort of educational areas, social sciences, humanities, etc. That there's going to be in demand for to create new rules around that, and where you go from there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy times.
Well, I'm glad that we're getting a cybersecurity thing up here. That's probably good for everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, the work that they've been doing so far is pretty neat. Like, even so with IBM, we were talking about earlier, like, they're doing their product development for their network level cybersecurity solutions that's built out and deployed worldwide, and that's all being done the R&D for it.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Nuts.
I don't know any of those guys, so I'd like to. Well, I know a couple. I guess I know them actually.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, it's a small place. All right, cool, man.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah, this is great.
This is great. All right, cool. Thank you very much, Adam.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Phil.
This is fun.
Awesome.
Cool.